Let's do an official. Yeah, does it look all right?
All right. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Keep the mic close-ish. Does it move? Move around a little bit?
Yeah, I moved it a little bit.
All right. Let's see. This is fun. Hi.
How's it going, Paul?
Should we call this a podcast? This is a podcast officially?
Fine. Yeah. I mean, we're recording.
Yeah, we are.
We can call it a pod.
What
My first
What
pod.
is it when it's a video cast? Still a podcast.
It's still a podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is fun.
Yes,
And it happens to be on a special day, too. What's the date today?
Today's August 29th.
It's your birthday.
I know it well.
Happy birthday, dude.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me here.
Of course.
I love it.
It was your idea to do this, and you had the idea to talk about sequencing, but there's so much more that we've always wanted to talk about. We've bantered back and forth throughout the years, and this is the first time we're actually sitting down to discuss it. We thought, let's freaking record it. Right?
Certainly. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll start at the beginning. What got you into yoga?
That's what got me into yoga.
You said it was meditation, right?
I found the physical part way after I found the meditative part. I was interested in spirituality and meditation, and I found an organization called the Theosophical Society. That was back in 2007. I didn't find physical yoga until a friend dragged me to a Vegas Hot. Did you ever go to Vegas Hot on Rainbow?
No, that's before my time.
What, really? What
started in 2016? 2017, really. See, my side of town's more Summerlin.
Okay.
I never really went south of Summerlin.
That
for yoga,
studio,
at least.
But you've seen that place, right? On Rainbow, that Ionic Columns building. It used to be an old Bikram studio. Then the owner turned it into Vegas Hot, which was
Super
I think that's
popular.
where I met Mark for the first time. He was
it is
teaching
where
me.
everyone met Mark for the first time.
Right, before he did True Fusion.
Yep.
A friend dragged me there to do a hot. It was like a fusion kind of class of some Pilates, and I was resistant to it. What did you think about hot yoga? The first time someone mentioned that to you, were you like, "Oh yeah, let's go work out in the heat"?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, growing up, I always saw a building that said yoga next to the soccer fields that I played soccer at. I was always seeing it, and I was just the stigma, the stereotype of the guys that do yoga.
It's for relaxation. It's for chanting Om.
Yes, exactly. It was in Indian. We're talking like 2010. It was on Buffalo and Washington. There was one right next to the Lowe's there. It said yoga, and it was there for 10 years, I think. And I remember being 10 years old thinking, I want to do yoga. Why not? And then over the years, I heard about it, very Indian.
Oh.
That's what people in India do. That's not like what people in America do. So I never got into it until I was 21 years old. Tried some yin for the first time.
Was it with Chris?
It was on a Friday night. Yeah. And
You remember the day of the week?
I remember the day of the week. There was one of her Friday night class, and it was just packed. Why is there 35 people in this unheated yin class in this red room?
You didn't know who Chris was at the time. You didn't know what she's all about.
No, I didn't know
how she
at all.
packs him in there.
That it was packed. Every
it
single
Yoga
class
Sanctuary?
too. No, it was True Fusion Summerlin.
Oh, was that True Fusion?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so everyone was talking, and everyone knew everyone enough to give these giant hugs. And I was like, what did I just get myself into? And then just sitting there and doing these. Back then, unheated yin, it was literally like 7 postures. One posture at a time. Do it on one side, do it on the other side. That's all I thought yin was for years. I never thought of progressions, never realized that there was a whole sequence that the teacher was creating. I was oblivious to it all for at least a year or so.
Did you actually enjoy that though? Because being a guy, you're strong. You're probably tighter in the
Very
hips and
tight.
hamstring.
Just getting into
Most guys
squat,
are.
I would sit on 3 blocks.
I love to use
Malasana.
blocks. I love that.
Yeah, I used 3 blocks.
I'm
'cause
sure
it
it's
was
changed
like
since
sumo.
then.
Oh, since then,
Down to 2 blocks now?
Nothing.
No, just joking.
No, I sit with nothing. That's
Good.
why
That's amazing.
I truly believe in yin yoga, because before I ever touched vinyasa, the way I was able to over time loosen up and get rid of every single block I would sit cross-legged with 4 blocks, 2 blocks under my sitting bones, and then 2 blocks under my knees, so it wasn't too much on my hips.
What kept you going though? That's enough to shut people off. When you came there and you saw the people.
Especially when teachers tell me, you don't need those blocks. You don't need any of that. Why are you even using that many blocks? Why are you modifying? Telling me I'm wrong.
But
And then I kept doing it.
But you did need them.
Absolutely.
Why would a teacher tell you?
A teacher would tell me I don't need that many. I would grab 4 blocks every single time and sitting cross-legged. How many times in your class, though, do you see someone with 2 blocks under their sitting bone and then 2 blocks propping their knees up?
Not in the stronger hot classes, because people are like, ah. But in yin, that.
But I'm also doing yin next to people who are extremely bendy and stretchy, so they didn't even use props really. They didn't understand. Like Chris Blunt, you think she needs a block sitting cross-legged? For her, she never made me feel any way until I started taking other teachers' classes, and they would question me, and I'd realize Chris was a much senior level teacher. She taught very many people, so she would just think it's curious that I would use that many blocks, whereas other teachers would be, oh, you don't need that many. And they'll be like, you don't need to use 4 blocks in Janu Shirsasana or anything like that, you know?
Did you have the idea to use the blocks on your own, or did someone tell you?
That to use that many blocks?
Because you knew you were body aware. You were already an athlete, soccer mostly. Other disciplines as well, or was it mainly soccer?
Just soccer.
Okay, so you were very body aware.
2.5 years old until 25 years old.
You knew what you needed. But my question again is, when it's unheated and it's slow, that's not usually what people gravitate towards, especially when you're tight and you're not into that. What did you think about that first class?
It was easy for me because of cannabis.
Okay.
That's why. I was already into cannabis before yoga, taking a puff before class and then going to yin. It was the best thing. Someone like myself at 21 years old and a little bit of a stoner. And I didn't know you could do something like that. Until you know yin exists, you don't know it exists.
How did you end up in that class, though? Did someone take you, or did you seek it out on your own?
So I worked at Public School 702 right next door.
Upstairs. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was a server there and I was working doubles. I would work 2 6 to 8 hour shifts a day sometimes, eating bad food, inflammation of my feet. Plantar fasciitis is what brought me to yoga. I looked it up. What do you do for plantar fasciitis? And it's you do stretches and you get rid of all the inflammatory things in your life. Eating bad food, coffee, alcohol, all those toxic things. And I did exactly that. Okay, it says do yin stretches. I'll find a place that teaches yin. And right next door was True Fusion.
So you did this on your own intentionally. You were walking in your job, serving. You noticed that your feet were hurting. You looked up.
I was icing them every single day. I was like, there's got to be a better way.
Took it upon yourself to find out other ways, and lo and behold.
Google says go stretch, and people don't normally stretch, so they don't ever get rid of their plantar fasciitis.
Literally right next door.
Right next door.
True Fusion is literally right next door to...
Connected to Public School 702.
You found Chris Blunt, who's one of the best yoga teachers I know.
Yes.
And you stumbled into her class. You didn't know who she was. You just didn't know who she was. Yin on the schedule.
Yeah, absolutely.
Signed up.
Yeah. Knew it was a deep stretch class. That was the most I knew. I didn't know you would.
You didn't know anybody in there.
Not a single soul.
Dude, this is different.
And I'm 21.
This is different.
Every person in there, between 40 and 50 at least. Probably 40 and 60 now that I understand the demographic at True Fusion Summerlin.
So you're looking around.
I'm thinking these people are like 40, maybe even 30, but they look like they're 30 or 40, but they're 50, some of them 60. They look so young because of the yoga. I had no idea.
In the breathe room and in the unheated?
Unheated room.
You remember it was a Friday night?
I remember it. And now that you're bringing this back up, I remember seeing the demographic. It was people that were probably 20, 30 years older than me. Every single one. There was no one in yin.
Can you remember feeling what you felt that night?
I was so out of my comfort zone.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you stayed.
Yes, because the way that yin makes you feel by the end of it, you're like, it's just like a warm blanket.
The fact that you experienced that your very first time is unique. Most people don't let themselves experience yoga when they're at a yoga class for the first time.
The surrender was easier because of the cannabis.
Good for you. Certainly not my first time. The first several times I tried not heated yoga, I didn't resonate with it. A friend took me and, fun. I'm stretching things and it hurts and it didn't really appeal. I was open to it because I knew it was healthy and I'm supposed to do things that are healthy. But it didn't resonate. The fact that you actually felt that warm blanket feeling, you got the effects of it.
Oh, yeah.
On your first time.
Very first time, right out the gate. And then because I was able to surrender so much into it, it created a place for me to go and have peak experiences constantly. So then every time I was going to yin, I was having a peak experience because life isn't always sunshine and butterflies and rainbows. So I was going through a lot during those times. Going somewhere, being away from everything. There's 2 different simulations. There's a yoga simulation and then there's a real life simulation, what people call real life simulation. You could step outside of the window of what people call reality and just have this window of your own time to yourself, away from your phone too, completely away from everything. Just be alone by yourself.
That is one of the coolest things about yoga that we hope people can realize, that you saw that so quickly and so like seamlessly. It's almost, it was meant to happen.
Oh, certainly meant to happen. Yeah.
Do you believe in karma and destiny and that stuff?
Certainly. Karma for sure. I was always meant to become a yogi. Yeah. I always thought I was supposed to be a professional soccer player. I was gifted straight from 3 years old till I finished playing around 22, 23 years old. It was, you will go pro. You will go very far in life, and that's all you should focus on. So, okay, I'm going to end up playing soccer somewhere after college, going professional, and then the way that my life went, got into some toxic behaviors, toxic relationships, and soccer went away. Yeah.
It wasn't the plantar fasciitis that took you away from soccer.
A little bit, yes, absolutely. Yeah, work too took me away from soccer. I started working. I moved out of my mom's house when I was 19 years old. Then I was having to work constantly. Work took over instead of going far with soccer. And then yoga actually took over. So it was just work and yoga. And then soccer went to the back of my mind. And I was still very healthy. My knees aren't what they are today, because then I got into a jet skiing accident 5 years ago, and that tore my meniscus. So then soccer was out completely. I had no choice then. I had not been playing for about a year, taking it for granted. And then all of a sudden this happened on the jet ski. 2020, we went to a river and got into a jet ski. I just turned fast. It wasn't a big accident, but it did tear my meniscus. And every time after going to run, I feel it every single time. Because you've torn your meniscus, right?
Yeah, I've had the surgery on both knees.
Did you have it doesn't destroy your life. It doesn't hold you back for much, but going and sprinting up a mountain, you're probably not doing that every day of your life, because that's what soccer is. You're on concrete because it's turf. Underneath the turf is concrete. So it's really hard.
When you stopped playing for about a year prior to that accident, was that year hiatus just because of work and relationships and other?
Yep, 100%.
Did you think to yourself, man, I got to get back to what my purpose is to soccer? And have you ever?
I even went and tried out. Yeah, I tried to that year. I went and tried out for the new team here in Vegas called the Las Vegas Lights. And I tried out, didn't have the best tryout because I had been going away from soccer for some time. And then what am I going to do now? Because that didn't really work out. Yoga was still there. I knew I would still be able to go do yoga and work. But yeah, those are the moments, I guess you could say, the dark night of your soul a little bit. Everything turned around then. I also got into the toxic drinking. That was my thing.
So we're talking like around COVID year.
Yeah, it was the year before COVID. Yeah, 2019 leading up. COVID changed everything in a positive way, because then I made that big switch. At the beginning of COVID is when Mother's Day, May, I think is when Mother's Day is. So May 2020, that's when I had my accident. And then I realized I need to do more yin. I have to. I was going to physical therapy, getting no relief whatsoever. And then once again, turned back to yin. When things opened back up, I got super back into yin, just doing it 2-3 times a day again. Because that's how I started. I have a job half of the year. So the other half of the year was just do 4 yin classes a day. And that's it.
You would take 4 classes a day?
Every single day. 3-4 classes every day. Every time slot I could, because I was between Blue Diamond and Summerlin. So I'd go do a double over here. Chris usually taught a double over here, and then I'd follow her over to Blue Diamond and do her double over here.
When she saw you at the next studio the same day, would she be like,
of course,
hi?
And I was more introverted then, so I didn't even say hi or talk to Chris for years.
But you knew that she had just seen you earlier that day at the other studio.
Oh yeah, she knew, and I wasn't the only one that way. That's why I knew I could go and do
other people did that too.
Other people did that too.
I'm not
absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if they're still around, but eventually, like Nicole was one of those people that would follow Chris around, and I would see her in every class, still not making any friends with anybody, and then all of a sudden one day, okay, now I'm gonna start making friends. Said hi to Chris. You know, Chris, she always tries to hook you up with friends in general.
She's a great connector. She's an awesome socialite for sure.
Yep. So then I started coming out of my shell a little bit, and then considered, because I was so obsessed with it and told everyone I was around to do as much yoga as possible.
But
everyone was like,
yin.
you need, specifically yin.
Right.
It's hard to get someone to do yoga in general. Doing yin too is like probably not getting any one of your friends doing it.
Usually they're more open to it if they're an athlete or super body aware or an acrobat or someone who uses their body, who understands the benefits of that type of therapy, really. I mean, yin is like a therapy.
Certainly.
So you were promoting it, shouting from the rooftops?
No one came and took it, but they were like, you need to be a teacher though. You need to have your own studio. If you love it that much, you need to create a business out of it. If you think you should spend all your time there.
Who mentioned that first, or how was that seed planted first to become a teacher?
It was my brother's friend, Christian. They're not aware of how the yoga world works or what starting a studio means, but the enthusiasm, my aura that was me when I would talk about yoga, the first thing you would say is, you need to create a business out of this 100%. I wasn't even a teacher yet. I wasn't even thinking about being a teacher. But so that did inspire me.
They sensed that positive energy that you were just exuding, and you mentioned it's your aura. It actually is. Whether you believe in auras or not, you can tell when someone has that energy. It's something, whether you call it an aura, an etheric field.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something that you can...
Energy,
and when
whatever.
you exude it, people can feel it. You still do to this day. That was before you did much vinyasa, right?
No vinyasa.
Zero vinyasa classes.
Zero vinyasa.
This is an interesting journey. This is cool that we're talking about this. You and I both have unique...
4 years, 2016... 3 years of just yin. I thought people that did vinyasa, I'd see them come out of class before me because it was usually a flow and then a yin. I probably won't ever be like them. They're small. They look like us. How we look today. 100%. Skinny, lean. And at this time, I was 220 pounds. Now I'm 160. So I was 60 pounds heavier. And I say you're not fat, you're inflamed. It wasn't like it was fat on my body. It was just inflammation on my body.
I can't picture you like that.
It's proportionate. I'm 6'1", distributing 40, 50 pounds over a 6'1" person. You don't see it in my side body. You don't see it in my thighs. I had big thighs because I played soccer. I would store my fat in those areas. You didn't see that I was a size 37 in jeans, but now today I'm a size 29 in jeans. So very different person. Yeah. XXL in basketball shorts. Now I'm a small or medium.
Have you shared this story?
I do. I share with a lot of people because...
But just privately, one-on-one?
Privately, after yoga. Yeah, when I have people getting into yoga for their first time, I'm able to give this story and let them know.
This is a beautiful thing, man. I knew a little bit about it, but this is perfect. And anyone who's going to listen to this or watch this, type some questions for him. We can all learn. He went through it.
I would love to give someone this whole playbook for sure.
Yes.
Because you can restore your physical body. Then after that, you get into your mental, then emotional body. And it just, the layer spiritual, everything, all the way down.
Most people who find spirituality would go to the physical classes first, not really knowing about the spiritual part or the meditative part, but then learning about it and having their mind just open to a whole other dimension of awesomeness that yoga is. You did that early on.
So early on, actually, I surrendered it in that first class.
First freaking, I still can't believe
the very first class. Absolutely. I was always able to relax. I was always a chill dude, but I keep coming back to it because it does play a part, the cannabis, 100%. But then over that year, I kept going back, very consistent. I took Christy Albardo's in that same first few months, and she infused a little bit of Kundalini into the beginning of a yin class. And it was another, what is this? I hate it. That was the first class. And then by the end of the class, I love it. This is just another style of yin. And then after that, I went to her a couple more times, and I fell in love with it. I love that yin could be this, but it could also be 10 different things at the same time. What that triggered in me was a Kundalini awakening. When I was in yin, in Chris's class, another Friday night, I had 2 blocks, a bolster up against my back. I had my feet up another bolster with a couple blocks and a blanket all around me, like Chris had me set up and everything. And then blanket over my head. Then just meditating, long shavasana, like a yoga nidra, and had a full-on awakening. My entire consciousness flipped. I went into a void, samadhi, when I started finding the deeper layers of yoga, samadhi specifically.
Right there in the class.
Yeah, right there in yin, complete samadhi. I didn't know it was a Kundalini awakening till a couple years later. The Human Experience podcast, actually, I heard a Kundalini teacher explaining what happens in a Kundalini awakening physically, what happened to me. But then little by little, all the toxic relationship, toxic substances that you're addicted to, anything starts to weed itself out. You start thinking deeply about, why do I like these things? Why am I interested in these toxic behaviors? That self-sabotage was a big one of mine too.
So it shifted your perspective so you could see these things in a different light.
Yeah, I became more of the observer, understanding that a lot of these programs, it's all conditioning. Then I was able to reverse engineer that. And then I start finding the 8 limbs, and contemplation is a huge part of the practice. I was doing that because I was a curious person of what made my mind tick.
That Kundalini experience, how far into your yin journey was that?
About 6 months in.
So pretty early.
It was, in hindsight, earlier than other people experience a Kundalini awakening, and through a different practice. They experience it through Kundalini a lot of the time.
Or through another intense type of practice.
Yoga, yeah, exactly. Their own side. Then after they're done practicing, laying there, and then they have that full, almost self-realization or spiritual realization, I guess you could say.
That was before lockdown and COVID even.
Yes, it was before. It was in 2019
all of this is happening. Then when lockdown happened and your big transition from soccer and then realizing the toxic behaviors and your health condition, huge shifts in your life. Huge.
Big shifts. Yes, huge. And then I found Vinyasa Yoga. Then I found Mark.
All
of that happened, and then I find Mark.
I was going to ask you when you found Mark, but I didn't want to jump anything, and then you just said it. And that's the next stage.
It was a few months before our training. Simone had little by little introduced me to him, started taking me to some of his flow classes.
So you met Simone?
You are going to... Simone and I were besties. Close friends. I would go to her. Then I found Heated Yin from Chris.
Okay.
I found Heated Yin through Simone. I was taking her class for about a year and a half. She had just started teaching in 2018. I didn't know she was a brand new teacher. I had a brand new teacher inspiring me in a true yin class. That was a big part of it.
It's amazing how different people can help you see different things. When you said a moment ago that yin can be so many different things, when Christiel was incorporating some kundalini into yin, Chris did it her way, Christiel did that,
Simone
and then Simone was doing exactly
completely different. And then Mark, same as Simone because she learned from him, but completely different style as well.
Now we're talking about heated yin that you found through Simone.
That's what got me really addicted. Yeah,
and heated yin, we're calling that true yin. Are there other heated yins?
They do heated yins. People aren't as interested.
They're not as
The teachers at True are so enthusiastic about their heated yins, and they're very consistent at teaching it every single week. That's why people come back at True.
There's a philosophy that I've heard Chris explain as to why most yin is not heated, but heated yin seems to make all the sense in the world.
Yeah,
you
for
heat
sure.
the body and the muscles.
There's a lot of variables there, and in the first couple of years, everyone was 20 to 30 years older than me. If you were going to a yin class and you were 50 years old, unless you were interested in Ashtanga and Vinyasa a lot, then doing a heated version of that is overwhelming for your cardiovascular system. If you're not a fit person and you've only done yin and you're only into yin,
even
going and doing
class.
it in a heated class, it's older women when they have going through menopause. That's what I'm talking about. Between 40 and 60, that starts to change. People have different perspectives of heated yin or heated classes in general because everyone's cardiovascular state is different. Everyone's hormones are different. Everyone's
nervous
case by case. Nervous system is different. 100%. The resilience is different. There's so many variables. No one thing is good for everyone. That's why I love True, because it has a little bit of every single thing for someone.
I'm glad you said that. No one thing is good for everyone. That's why there are so many different kinds of yoga.
Yeah.
So 2-3-ish years after you started practicing yin, now you're going to hot yin now.
Heated yin.
And you met Mark, and then a whole different universe opened up.
Yeah,
for you.
Vinyasa. Yeah.
How did you get into your first vinyasa class? Tell us that one.
Oh, it kicked my butt, but I had been doing heated yin for so long that I was familiar with all of the poses. I could do a lot of the poses. I was very curious at that point. So I already could remember all of Chris's sequences as a student.
This is yin still we're talking about. Now, when you're saying you learned the poses.
When I finally transitioned to Vinyasa, I knew so many of the shapes. Obviously not the standing poses.
Okay.
Because I was able to learn in a heated environment from a teacher for 75 minutes already, going and doing it in a 60-minute format at a little bit faster pace, because I was athletic and I started losing the weight, got below 200, then doing higher fitness
became
level classes.
Easier for you.
Super easy.
Probably more flexible too.
So with my twist, that's what it was. From my shoulders are very open from soccer. Sprinting. When you're sprinting, your arm mobility increases greatly because you have to use your arms a lot. So that's what I realized is my flexible part of my body is always going to be my shoulders, my twist, my abdomen, my hips. Very tight, of course. That's how my body grew. There's no changing how your hip sockets grew in your growth
sockets
spurts.
Are bone.
Exactly.
Right?
So whatever you're doing during your growth spurts, when you're going through puberty, when you're going through puberty, whatever activities you do constantly all day, every day during puberty has a big effect on your end flexibility or how your body does form. Soccer players, runners, football players, people that are very fast directionally going forward or shifty side to side, their hip sockets grow a different way. When I find people were doing gymnastics or dance and everything, very open. A lot of girls, if they're not doing dance or anything, they like to do back bends and crazy hip stuff to begin with. That's what I tell my students is you can't compare yourself to someone else because so many variables. We were talking about cardiovascular, proportions is a huge one. So many things go into it.
Do you think newer students can actually do that? Not comparing themselves to other people? It's hard, right?
Oh, yeah. No, they all do. Absolutely. I still find myself comparing myself sometimes. For sure. But it's that thought comes and goes so quickly.
I think she's going to jump on you.
Oh, no, it's okay. No, I can touch her. I took Zyrtec today, so I'm good. I love it. We can stay here for hours.
It's so good.
We'll call it at 3:30?
Yeah. Cool. It's plenty. We can talk for hours, man.
Yeah,
we can.
Absolutely. I can't believe I've never been able to talk to you about this. I love talking about it.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
Have you talked to Chris? Does Chris know about your whole journey?
Chris knows a good portion of it.
I bet you she'll hear things if she watches this that she didn't know.
Oh, yeah, certainly. The whole timeline of it all.
I didn't know that you studied with Christiel. I love Christiel. She's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've only
also
taken probably a handful of her classes because you know her. She's very
diverse. She's all over the place. There's
exactly.
So many things.
Yes. And then I find Mark.
Okay.
And
So
Mark,
Vinyasa. You took a Vinyasa class. Do you remember how it was your first time?
I remember walking out with Simone and thinking, I want to do this forever. 100%.
Remember what class it was?
It was at Blue Diamond. One of his, like, he used to
It was
teach
Mark.
it. Yeah, Mark.
Your first vinyasa class was a Mark BT class.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I will go back a little bit. My first Vin Yin class was with Dinesh Welker. Yeah, when his name was Derek Welker. Yeah, Dinesh Dasa. He was my first Vin Yin, and their authenticity in the room and their ability to remember the sequence and deliver and execute. That's what inspired me from him. There's little inspirations everywhere.
He teaches a great class. I'm sure a lot of it's intuitive. He might have a sequence, like you said, but he teaches to the room. He's one of those yogis who's tapped in, and he probably was feeling what was going on and taught that way.
Yeah,
He
certainly
felt it too.
Yeah, exactly. And this person with the tattoos and everyone's so accepting of him, and he's obviously accepting of himself because the confidence that he has when he was teaching.
So much.
I was, I could do this, because he's also one of the only people that are also my age in the yoga room. Now there's a lot of people that are younger. Back then in 2018, 2019, not only is it because it was yoga, but it's inaccessible because of the price point too. So there wasn't a lot of 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds paying $170 a month, $180 a month to go to do yoga, something that they're not even
cost these days. Is that what
if you do $200 a month, if you just pay it just for 1 month, but if you have a contract, it's inaccessible for sure.
Really?
Yes, I feel
Fusion membership card?
it's expensive. Yeah, you could get it down to $139 a month if you buy a full year at once. Yeah, you can totally get it down to something more accessible. But
you just said in your vinyasa class with Dinesh, you thought to yourself that you could teach. You had the thought right then, even though people had told you before, oh, you should get a studio, you should teach. You didn't really.
Yeah, but just seeing a young man doing it in front of me, that's when I was like, oh, I could do this.
I wonder if he knows that he helped inspire you to start teaching.
I don't think he does. That's one I don't think he knows.
Do you ever see him anymore?
Here and there. Yeah, just here and there. We have a good relationship. I love him. Yeah. He knows that he still inspires me because he's taken my class a couple of times. Cool. And it's a bro thing where it's, okay, I'm glad that we're teaching some good yoga, because we've also taken a couple classes randomly together where we're like, I don't know about this one so much. We loved it because we love yoga, but it's at the same time, when it comes to sequencing, you like what you like. You like the teacher's vibe, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Everyone's different. Whoever you're attracted to, whatever works for you.
Started these vinyasa classes, how long before you did your teacher training was that?
2 months, 3 months? Because Mark didn't know if we were going to be able to continue to do trainings or not, and so get in on this one.
Oh, so it was 2020. It was COVID.
It was 2020. It was September of 2020. It was, we're not sure if we're even going to do this one. We're seeing who's interested, and okay, I'm interested. And then turns out that there was 15 of us, and 13 of us finished. There was 2 that had to move out of state or something last second.
That was your teacher training. It was the vinyasa.
Yeah, True Flow
training.
True Flow training, vinyasa. Yep. And it was the weekend one. So it was 11 hours Saturdays and Sundays for 9 weekends. We finished in the first week of December
of 2020.
2020. Yep.
Did you do a yin training separate from that?
Yeah. Then a year later in September, they were filling out interests, and there wasn't very many people interested, but I was telling Simone, I want to do True Yin. Mark needs to do a training. And she got him to do it, and she helped him with everything, was the sidekick, and developed the schedule and everything. And then he was, I'll do it since it's all kind of organized. And so I did his True Yin training.
2 trainings under your belt.
Yeah, it was a True Yin, regular Yin, and roll and recover training.
Did you start teaching right after the first 200 hour?
Yeah, January. The first week of January.
That was COVID time, so we were doing distancing and masks and stuff.
Yes, I taught my first probably 6 months with masks. Yeah. And practicing too.
Yeah,
that is crazy. Yeah, it's soaking wet. I would bring 2 or 3 in with me. I have to pop another one on. Yeah.
What a weird phase.
It was very weird. Right? Did you imagine teaching to people with masks? Learning how to teach when people can't even see your face? They can't connect with you. It was so hard. It was the hardest way. You come into the class with your mask on, you have the mask on, you leave with it on, so no one actually saw my face or knew who I was. As a new teacher, straight out the gate, which is very difficult. It's not like
being a brand new teacher is hard enough. Now you can't see people's faces.
Yeah, and the only time slot was Jessica gave me 5:45 on a Monday morning, and that's all you get, buddy.
Sounds like you still have those time slots.
Yeah, absolutely, and here I am, still teaching them. Yep.
Fast forward from then until today, it's been what, 4.5 years?
Yeah, five full years now.
Safe to say you're teaching more now than ever before, right? Do you want to move her?
No,
sure?
We're good. Okay. I love this. Yeah.
She's adorable. She cuddles with strangers more than she does with me.
No?
Rarely.
Really?
Look at that. She loves you. Look at that. This is kind of unfair. Life is unfair sometimes, but that's what we teach in yoga. Actually, it is fair. We put our thoughts on it and say, we don't like this, so we're going to say it's unfair.
Yep, 100%.
Have you gone back to soccer since the tryout?
No, since then, I've tried once playing indoor soccer, and 20 minutes in, my knee locks up. Just too much sprinting, too much cutting. I depended a lot on my footwork. I was very crafty with my feet. This is cute. But sprinting is really harsh on my knee, and it locks it up. And with work, I can't be out of work for a week or even think that I might not be at 100%.
Work meaning yoga teaching.
Work meaning building booths at the church. So I have
your other job.
What I do for money,
right?
Because I'm a Teamster.
Most of us have our yoga careers, but then we have another job that actually pays our bills.
Yes, exactly. Even with teaching 10 to 12 classes a week, it still doesn't pay.
And then how many hours are you building booths?
Sometimes 50 or 60.
It depends on if there's a convention.
9 months out of the year, 50 hours a week is the average.
What's happening right now? It's not convention season right now, is it?
No, next week starts the convention season, pretty much.
Oh,
yeah, but when there's not convention season going, there's probably about a month that there's zero going on. Then you're doing warehouse hours. You're setting up everything in the warehouse so that you can take it to the show and drop it there, and it's already built. You don't have to do so much work. You're building crates, you're getting the inventory stocked and making sure you have the equipment. When there's not shows going, there's still lots of work to do. But I love it. I started my apprenticeship in January. Did you know that?
No.
With the Teamster Union.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'd been trying to get in for years, for 3 years. It's very
congratulations. I'm set for life with it, benefits and
yes. So it's about a year and there's levels. So I'm on level 2 right now. Every 500 hours I level up. And so you start at 60% of a journeyman's wage and then you work your way up each level to 100%. And then I'll finish off. Congrats. And then I'll be set for life because benefits, everything has.
Thinking big picture, your intention is not to move 100% into teaching yoga for a living. Since I'm hearing
I'll never do this for money or do it for a living or do just yoga. I committed to 30 years of doing convention work for sure. And it can be part-time, it could be full-time too. So it's once I journey out and become a part of the union and I have more set schedule, my brother will be my boss then and he'll be able to work with my schedule. So then I'll have more weekly classes at a time slot that isn't 5:30 in the morning. I'll have night ones so that I know I can go and hit them and not have to sub them out often. I hate subbing classes. So that's why I don't have night ones because I have to keep the whole night clear because sometimes we'll work 8 hours till 4:30 or we'll have to work till 6:30 or 8:30. And sometimes I don't know until 6:30 or 8:30. So if I have classes that night, I'll be subbing them. That's why I had the 9 o'clock classes for the last year is because I could always make those, but those are hard. I was teaching a 5:45 a.m. and then a 9 p.m. on the same day.
Do you try to practice yoga most days?
Yes,
absolutely. You try to go to a class or do you do it
I do
your
yin
own?
At home.
You do at home?
Yin at home, yeah.
When you're at home, it's mainly yin, you're saying?
Yin, mostly. Yeah. I go to the studio for my vinyasa.
Okay. Yeah. But you don't do vinyasa every day. How often do you do vinyasa?
I would say ideally, like when I can hit as many classes as I want.
Yeah, perfect world.
3 vinyasa classes and 3 yin classes.
A week. Okay, cool. Yeah. But you don't always hit 3 because life happens.
Teaching 6 classes, my weekly classes, then now during the summertime, picking up people's classes, 5, 6. It definitely.
You're one of the greatest subs, man. I think it's you and Wendy, right? You guys sub the most.
Oh, absolutely.
You guys are amazing. Yeah. Thank you guys.
I love it. It's so tough. It is.
You mean physically
subbing a class? No, teaching.
Oh,
physically it can be too because a lot of the times it's beginners or people that you've never met. Wow. Just this week, I had probably 30 people I have never met. First impressions is what I'm talking about. First impressions are hard. You want to leave a good first impression, obviously. You always want to have a good first impression. I'm subbing these classes and then just
you're fresh, you're coming in
trying to hit 120% rather than just 100%.
That's what you mean by it's hard.
Yeah.
You're giving even more of your energy, but you're choosing that. You want to touch a lot of people. That's amazing.
I want to create forever yogis all day, every single day. That's my key.
That intention is beautiful. Before we go down that route, walk us through your home practice. When you do yin at home, what do you do?
Just creating classes that I'm going to teach. I don't teach yin that often. I wish I taught it more.
Okay.
I really do. But no one does yin at 5:45 in the morning. It starts with either I was inspired from Mark. I used to record I still do record all of his classes. He lets me with audio. Yes. So I've always recorded all of his classes since the day I met him. I used to just I would go take his yin and then do his yin at the park when I was learning how to teach yin.
To those of you who are watching this, that's dedication. That's a pro tip, a life hack. Dude, that's cool.
I want to show you.
Yeah. How many do you have?
How I would plan out all of my classes word for word after listening to his entire class. Then I would, in
this
my
is a
words,
script that you wrote.
similar to a script. So first pose, child's pose, come to all fours,
That's your
cat pose,
sequence.
cow pose, child's pose. But then it gets into scripting word for word, because in yin, you want to use the least amount of words to make the most impact. It then turned into, okay, now I'm going to full on script out these transitions. Because that for me in yin is the biggest part. Is you don't magically come up from position to position. As a yoga teacher, you know that. There's a lot of transitional cues involved. And especially in yin, you want to find the right balance. It's finding the very direct cues that are clear and precise, so no one's ever
Without
confused.
extra fluff to confuse people.
100%. And that's what that turned into. Listening to his classes, the full 75-minute, and then also at the same time, like, what would I say in this transition? What sounds natural
That's
to me in
actually
this
really
transition?
good. This is a great nugget for anybody listening. Mark BT is one of the most surgical teachers with his words.
Yep.
He's precise and he nails what you just said. He doesn't overtalk.
Yep.
But when he does, it's clear the guy speaks with articulation like no other.
Yes. Now, because I've
Yeah.
just really stuck with him and learned his ways, those are the reviews I get for all of my classes. Very articulate. Almost every class, that's a review that someone sends to me. Is
And I can
It's
echo
very
that.
clear. Like older people that have not the best hearing come up to me after class. They're like, "I'm so glad I can hear everything."
A lot of that is your resonance. You have a deep and loud, you're a big, strong person with low, and that helps too. But that doesn't do it all. You can have a big, loud voice and then talk super fast and mince your words and such.
Absolutely.
Like my vet who just did the surgery on my little kitty, he's amazing. So loud, but talks so fast. It's like,
Oh yeah.
you're loud and understandable and calm. Like you said, you've always been a chill guy and you're calm. The other week when you subbed that Friday night class and I hadn't taken it over at the new Kintsugi, I love the fact that I was able to pop into that, and I hadn't taken your class in a long time, and you had grown exponentially and changed and gotten so much more surgical and more confident, and you seemed bigger and taller. Of course, you're not taller, but you seem that way because of
thank
the
you.
way you carry yourself.
Thank you.
You've grown, and I know you're
Yeah.
big on that. It's so intentional. You're sharing that you worked pretty damn hard and you did things to get better.
Yeah.
That's what I think people should take. It doesn't happen magically.
No.
You have to do things like
There's no luck or magic
Yeah.
involved whatsoever.
This is really cool.
I forget
Yeah,
now
this is-
when I have these beautiful classes or I come up with these beautiful sequences or these ideas for my classes, it seems like magic executing in the room. I have the feeling of magic, but I forget about how many hours that I studied and studied.
This
and
is
studied.
something that I have proof of it. Chance has proof. We can't prove it to you. You got to do it yourself. That this type of magic flow, it sounds woo woo, but it is real. When you put the work in and you actually do practice and try and dedicate yourself and have a routine and have some discipline, it starts to get so much easier. It's almost like magic. You sometimes forget, holy shit, I can pull up my phone too and show you how many full classes I have written out word for word. And then I have so many full classes that are just sequences. And I used to take a piece of paper just like this into my vinyasa classes and I would hide it and I would.
Yeah. What creative vinyasa am I on right now? Yeah.
Exactly.
100%.
I'm a little self-conscious to say that I did that for longer than I thought I should have, for years. Now,
Who did you learn
love-
vinyasa from first?
But let's talk about that too.
Okay.
I do feel what you said. It feels so good to, like I was saying about Dinesh, to teach to the class. We have so much in our back pocket, so to speak, that
Tools
it just
on our
comes-
tool belt.
It's there.
That's what
All
you
the
always
tools
say.
are there.
The tools.
It's usable and it feels so good.
Yes.
You don't have to do all that kind of work anymore because we did that.
When I have a person that's never tried flow yoga, vinyasa yoga ever before, come to my class and hit every single pose, doesn't even take a break, it is the best thing in the world because they have no idea how hard people struggle just to get to that point. And for them to do it first time, that's the magic I'm talking about. You're creating a peak experience for someone. And thank you to my teachers, you and Mark, because you
thank you
create
for putting
peak
me in
experiences in the room.
Oh, man. Thank you
And
for putting me in.
there are they're experiences that I feel still today. I can remember those classes that you created, that magic. And that's what I strive to replicate in class. And now I 100% do it every single class because I was able to be a part of your magic. So thank you.
Man, that's amazing that you put me anywhere near the same group with those amazing teachers. Of
course.
When we can have a handful of classes that we remember that were so peak, that's a beautiful thing. Every yogi probably will get there at some point where they have a bunch of classes. Wow, that was very special. And then as a teacher, I've noticed, though, it can be a slippery slope when we start to give those kinds of classes. Sometimes my ego creeps in and says, oh, gosh, I need to do that every time now. And if it's not, I'm not as good of a teacher. That's dangerous, too. We don't want to do it. And I need to remind myself that some classes will be mediocre. Some classes I'll mess up on.
And if you try your hardest, those mediocre ones weren't mediocre.
Even our mediocre ones are still pretty damn good, right?
Yeah, let's go. That's good.
We should wrap up soon in a minute, man. We have so much.
We can keep going. We're going to start a whole entire, this is number 1, and we're going to start a whole entire
You
series.
asked where I got that. I would love that, man. There's so much to chat and share. Vinyasa. I need to credit Greg Go a lot for Vinyasa. Greg Go is an Ashtanga lover, an Ashtanga teacher. I can call him an Ashtangi. He trained with Tim Miller. For those of you who know the world of Ashtanga, Tim Miller was one of Pattabhi Jois's students, one of the OGs. There are lots of Ashtanga lineages in the world that have proliferated since Pattabhi Jois passed away, and then since Sharath has now passed away. Pattabhi Jois, Tim Miller, Greg Go, I learned a lot from him, but I don't call myself or consider myself an Ashtangi. I haven't taken an official Ashtanga training.
Yep.
I also love the teachings of, I'll call it the Krishnamacharya style. Krishnamacharya was the main teacher of Pattabhi Jois and of Iyengar. Krishnamacharya is considered the father of modern yoga. His style has trickled down into different lineages too, one of which is called the Himalayan Masters tradition, the Himalayan Institute in Pennsylvania, and then there are a bunch of teachers in that lineage, and I've learned from them too. And the sequences that I do usually in the breathwork classes, where we're using the breath to go in and out of a pose, we're inhaling to go into something, exhaling to come out, for example, and then holding in static while breathing. That's what I'm calling Krishnamacharya style, where it's dynamic and then static. You could call that vinyasa, but I would actually more call that just hatha yoga. There are very few, if any, sun salutations.
Yep.
Sun salutations are usually a hallmark of vinyasa classes. I learned that style through the lineage of the Himalayan Masters and the Himalayan Institute, but I like stronger yoga too, and I like to receive physical fitness as well from my yoga practice, and that doesn't necessarily do that. That's where I turn to more active styles, and I resonate really well with some Ashtanga, mainly Greg Go, and that's who I mainly learn. And I credit him for a lot of my vinyasa stuff. I find myself echoing some of the other masters like Mark BT. I'm really proud of a yoga class that I just put on YouTube. I recorded it right out there. It's on my YouTube channel, which is I think where this podcast will probably end up being.
There, yeah.
It's a 75-minute vinyasa class, and I recorded it 2 years ago, but just got it up on YouTube like about a month ago. As I'm watching it, I'm remembering how much Mark BT was influencing that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's classic Mark BT right there.
Yeah, it's funny. Unconsciously, you just...
But it's good. It makes
things
sense.
that feel good.
Yes.
It makes sense.
For sure.
I stick to True Flow. I could teach Ashtanga for sure. I could teach anything, but I
they're good
love
templates.
It's good templates for people that are new to yoga
Yeah.
or that have been going for a long time too. You can build upon it or you can take away from it quite a bit.
For
so
sure.
it can be accessible for everyone. Not that
that's what I
Ashtanga is
love.
not, because I still go and take Ashtanga now and I'm like, this is incredibly accessible. If you do it a few times, you have to stay consistent. That's the key. That's what I always finish a lot of my classes. Consistency is key. Any of these lineages are great, but you have to stay consistent. There's layers to this. So you have to get through the first layer and then it's just steady. You just have to keep trucking or else
I agree with that.
it won't grow.
Discipline and consistency is crucial to receive much progress.
Yep.
You wouldn't have gotten to where you were if it wasn't for consistency. When you first started taking your yin classes, you were probably going infrequently, and then you started going more frequently.
Well, and then the same
until
thing
it was-
happened with Vinyasa. As soon as I was learning Vinyasa, it was at your class every morning at Kintsugi in 2020. In 2021, I would be there as much as I possibly can. I was going and taking from Rachel. I was
memory.
taking different people all the time. That's why I say when I go back to True Flow, every single class, I've taken every single type of yoga that you can and taken every type of sequence. And I would for sure infuse a lot of those into my sequence more. And I do. I find myself doing things I've learned from Angela or Rachel, but still
You took a
formed
lot from
around the
Angela,
whole
didn't you?
True Flow, which is great because True Flow comes from Smart Flow. Smart Flow comes from Annie Carpenter. Annie Carpenter is Rachel's teacher. So while I was able to get away from Mark, I was still in the same kind of realm of sequencing style where there's a progression and a regression, where there's always a way to start with something and then pepper that through the entire sequence and bring it back and remind people you could do it in down dog, you can do it standing, you can do it on the floor.
Yeah.
And so that's what I loved about True Flow.
That's another nugget that we can take and say, oh, I wonder if I can incorporate that. That's beautiful. Some might call it theming, weaving something through, or
Weaving, yeah.
progressing with a common theme and getting deeper with it. I know that Rachel was involved in the
Creation
the
of
creation
True
of True Fusion. Yeah.
Yes.
And those original three modalities, which are True Sig, True Flow, and True Power Flow.
Exactly. Mark was
Yeah.
bringing Signature. Rachel was bringing in her Smart Flow, and then a little bit of Ashtanga. Mark always knew he had to make the Ashtangis happy.
Yeah.
That's where True Flow comes from. And so it all comes back to making the Signature people, the Set Series Bikram people happy, the Ashtangis happy, and then the creative Vinyasa people happy. And I feel like they nailed it. And then I love Signature Series.
Well,
Hatha is a whole nother type of yoga that we haven't even gotten into yet.
do
I learned that last
too.
year.
Yes, I do too. I hope our buddy David Vandermeer watches this. He and I were talking about this exact thing the other night, and I was mentioning to him how I am a huge believer in the static posture classes, which we can call Hatha Yoga or the True Signature, the Bikram style. Huge believer in that. So much transformation that I've personally received and that I see all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm missing teaching a lot of that since I recently gave up my Sunday morning class and went over to Kintsugi.
You only have one, right?
Yeah, I do. And do you agree with this, that a lot of the more proficient physical yogis, they don't go to True Sig?
No, they don't.
No. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll talk more next time about that. That's something I want to dive into. That will lead us into more of the spiritual stuff. I believe that True Sig, as funny as this is going to sound, can be very spiritual. And I'll share my reasons why that is.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that on the next one for sure. Because the mind control, the self mind control behind True Sig, absolutely, I am addicted to it.
Good.
You realize how you can have these intrusive thoughts, automatic thoughts.
I can't wait to talk about that more.
Yeah.
Let's wrap
Next
this
one
up
will be
today.
True Sig. I mean, Signature Series, Set Series. I love it.
It's Chance's birthday. He's going to go do something
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah, we are. Party time.
All right, man. Namaste.
So, namaste. Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, that was awesome.
you.
So
That was great.
good. So good. Thanks for listening, everyone.